Let me tell you something. All right, this is the National Football League. 5 up, 5 down. Give it up for yourself. Every single player and coach on defense, hell of a job today. Game ball for everybody.
Everybody, he's Drew. He's Chris. I'm Ted. He's Ruby in the background somewhere. And he is a big dummy. Yeah, he's a big dummy, not him. Welcome to Vikings Report with Drew, Chris, and Ted. It's the bye week for the Vikings. We got kind of a quick show this week. We're not doing a movie like we normally do.
No.
Brewster, how are you?
Doing great, Ted. 5-0, living off that 5-0 high right now. You know what I mean?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never been chemically high in my life.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It was all backstage and sort of secret.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. I have a personal goal I'm trying to get to here. I want to get to 30,000 subscriptions. So tell your friends. Let's get the subs up. Let's try to get to 30,000 before Halloween, and that would be a good trick or treat for me. Doing great. Getting ready to talk football, even though we got the bye week. We got some stuff to go over. I'm doing fantastic, man. We're 5-0, baby. Yeah.
Chris, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right, man. We keep winning football games. We keep having awesome preview shows. We keep having great post-game shows. The Vikings are getting coaches fired.
You're fired!
What? You're fired.
Oh, you're fired. You're fired.
Because it wasn't Aaron Rodgers who got that guy fired. Definitely
No.
not. It was the Minnesota Vikings who got Robert Saleh fired. But no, it's been a hell of a start to the season so far, and it's going to be fun to watch it continue. Hopefully we can keep this momentum going coming out of the bye week.
Ruby, you out there? Are you able to talk this evening? Is your microphone working?
Hello. Yes, it's working.
How you feeling? How you doing?
I'm good, but I kind of have to humble myself here and bow down to the champion, Ted, with the 130-something points or whatever. Dude, you killed us.
I'm a kind, benevolent God.
You are generous. Yes, you are. Divine. King of kings.
Here we go.
Yep.
Other than that, I'm great. 5-0.
Yeah. Drew, I think you told me I set a record, didn't I? For our Nobody Cares About Your Fantasy Team stuff. We'll get to that in a minute, though.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
We'll get to my utter dominance in that in just a minute.
Chris. Tell him, stop him.
I can't stop him. I suck at this. Whatever.
You can't stop me. You can only hope to contain me, baby.
You really think you could contain me?
Before we get to that, a couple things we want to talk about. As always, we want to talk about Purple Pain Forums, our internet affiliate. Great message board, purplepainforums.com. Great community of Vikings fans. None of the trash talk and the just garbage you see on a lot of social media sites like Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days. A lot of Vikings fans clubs where the insults just fly back and forth. Just a kind of a small community of your old school message board type format of Vikings fans, really smart folks, where you get a really cool breakdown, in-depth analysis. purplepainforums.com. Great contests. Head on over there, get an account, sign up, start commenting. purplepainforums.com. If you need a one-stop shop for all your Minnesota Vikings news and information, head on over to our buddy Chris's site, dailynorseman.com. That's dailynorseman.com. He started it in 2006. I wrote there for a while. You don't have to go behind the paywall for the Star Tribune. You don't have to go to all these other goofy blog sites that do the, well, I saw somebody on some site said, I think the Vikings should trade 2 first-round picks for Dexter Lawrence, and here's my house. No, you just get good stuff from my buddy Chris's site. That's dailynorseman.com, SB Nation's Minnesota Vikings website. So go there. So a couple real quick announcements for our schedule for the upcoming week. So we've got our bye week show tonight. We're only releasing it in one part. Next week, we'll go back to our regular scheduled 2-part release show for the huge upcoming game against the Detroit Lions. The following week, the Vikings have a quick turnaround. They've got the Thursday night game at LA against the Rams. We will have our live watch party. The kickoff is at 7:15. We will be on the air at 6:45. We've got 3 guests that Drew's already locked in. You're going to like them all. They're awesome folks. So join us for the live watch party right here on our YouTube channel. And our Nobody Cares About Your Fantasy Team picks will be released that Friday after the live watch party. So we'll do a quick video. You can find those on our YouTube channel and also on VikingsReport.com.
Scores are updated every week. You can go there and find all your information. VikingsReport.com.
And speaking of Nobody Cares About Your Fantasy Team,
Ted. Ted wins his second week of the season to tie Toonces for the most wins. He won opening week. And Ted not only won this week, he said nobody cares about your frickin' fantasy football team with lasers on their head.
I was like the German army, and you dudes were like Poland is what you were. I'm just saying.
Toonces set the record for points for a week at 126 back in 2022. Yes, we've been on the air a while. And Ted broke that record this week with 134.1. Ted set the all-time record. Nobody cares about your fantasy. It's going to be a tough record to break. I'm the king of the world! We only play 5 players because we don't waste our time with kickers and all that. We do it the right way. But what a job by Ted. Ted had like 75 points out of his 2 wide receivers combined. So good week for him. So next week he'll get 15.
Blind Squirrel finds nut, film at 10. So how we do our fantasy football picks for the week? Well, we've done a pre-recorded video. Ruby's going to play that right now. So, hey, Ruby. As always, it is a standard PPR scoring format. Every week, this year, Drew, Chris, Ruby, and I will pick 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, and 1 tight end. Every week, you will pick the team you think has the best chance of winning. Put your entry in the comments below here. Don't hit us up on our Facebook page. Don't hit us up on X or Twitter or whatever you want us to call it. Every time we pick a player, we can only pick that player 1 time throughout the course of the season. So it's done. So if we don't pick a player, that player gets hurt for the season. Too bad for us. We can't use it. We don't know the picks beforehand, but we send picks in, and we don't pick the players that are playing on the Thursday night game because that might give one team that you folks might pick sort of unfair advantage in case they go off and get like 40 or 50 points. The big change to this year, in years past, we've given you 3 points for first place, 2 points for second place, 1 point for third. This year, you get all the points that you would get in a standard PPR format week if you play fantasy football. So, for example, if you pick my team and I score 75 points in 1 week, and then you pick Chris's team and they score 75 points in week 2, you have 150 points throughout 2 weeks, and that keeps going throughout the season. Conversely, if you pick like Drew's team and they only score 10 points, and then Ruby's team and they score like 300 points, then you have 310 points. It gives you a chance to catch up if you kind of fall behind. Whereas in past seasons, if you weren't doing so well, it was kind of hard to catch up. So this year, you can kind of fall back in the back pretty fast. So standard PPR scoring format all season, and you improve points throughout the year. You can find a leaderboard throughout the season on VikingsReport.com. We'll keep that updated for us. And we've got a really awesome prize for our grand prize winner this year. It is a Justin Jefferson jersey. Put it up on the board for our championship. Second place is a nice 5 gigs Vikings jersey as well. Maybe I'll get 136 points this week again, or maybe I'll get like 12, which is what I usually do. Last week was just pretty much, I don't want to say it was a fluke. I actually studied, and I was sick of finishing last, but I don't know. We'll see how we do this week.
Contest is going great. People are making up ground right and left. Trooper 88 made up a bunch of ground this week because he was the only one that took your team. That's why the scoring works so well, Ted. That's how you make up ground.
I'm like the Vikings. Nobody believed in me.
It's not that they don't have faith in you, Ted. It's just that they don't trust you.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
If you look at it like that, it makes more sense.
I can't blame them. I mean, if you look at my track record from last year, it's very legitimate concerns all the way around.
No, when you do crappy for a while, then when you come out, you really bust a nut. I mean, you go to town on that, Ted. So
that's what she said.
134.1. See if we can beat it this week. Chris, don't be down. You're going to go on a roll and win like 5 weeks. That's how this thing works. It's going to be crazy. Contest is going really well.
So with that said, we've got a big show tonight. We're going to talk Vikings news and notes. Instead of the preview, since the Vikings are on a bye, we're going to talk about what we think is the biggest surprise that we've seen so far through 5 games and a possible concern as we head out of the bye for the remaining 12 games. No milestone, no trivia tonight, so we'll wrap the show up after that. So with that, Drewster, what time is it?
Ted?
Drew.
I'm cooler than you all, even though you got 134.1. Why don't you fix your little problems? Get this bye show weekend on the road and light this candle.
He's right. Take my 134 points and light this candle.
He surely is. I'm just going to sit here in last place, but I can still light this candle.
Yes, resume the countdown.
All right, I'm cooler than you are. Why don't you fix your little problems and light this candle?
He's right. Let's light this candle.
He's
surely is. Light the candle.
Yes. Resume the countdown.
All right, we're back, baby.
Yes, we are, baby. Yeah.
Guys, I'm normally not a fan of an early bye week for any NFL team, really. I think most teams are generally pretty healthy 5 weeks into the season, but for the Vikings, this kind of comes at a good time. TJ Hockenson has come off the PUP list or IR eligible to return. They opened his 21-day practice window the Friday before the Jets game. Aaron Jones got injured during the Jets game or midway in the second quarter, didn't return for the second half. They called it, Kevin O'Connell called it a hip injury, kind of placed him on a week-to-week status. Those are really kind of the only two big injuries right now. Ivan Pace Jr. returned, played a limited game in terms of snaps or action played, but he had a good game. I mean, he accumulated a fair amount of snaps, Chris. Are you concerned with the long-term health of Aaron Jones? The way O'Connell talked about it, it didn't seem like a huge deal as long as they manage it properly. I don't know.
I think you kind of have to be, just because he does have a history of having to deal with injury issues. I mean, last year he missed a good chunk of the season for Green Bay, but then he came back for the tail end of the regular season in the playoffs. He finished the Packers season with 5 straight 100-yard games last year once he came back from the injuries, but he has enough of an injury history for it to be concerning. But on the other hand, the Vikings seem to have a solid enough history of managing and dealing with injuries where you have to have faith to think that they are going to manage this properly and not put him back out on the field before he's ready. So it is a bit of a concern, but hopefully the Vikings will make it not as big a concern as it potentially could be.
Drew, when Aaron Jones went out, the Vikings running game pretty much disappeared against the Jets. Last year, though, when they replaced Alexander Mattison with Ty Chandler, the Vikings game dramatically improved. Are you concerned about the Vikings running game if Ty Chandler has to take over most of the workload as running back one?
He's not Aaron Jones. I get that. But I think Ty Chandler can take over and be the spot starter while he's out. I don't get all the talk the last week about going out and getting a running back. He's week to week, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what O'Connell said.
Week to week, why are you running out to get somebody off the practice squad? I mean, I looked at all the practice squads today. Not really anybody on there I think that's better than Ty Chandler. You know, John Kelly for Baltimore. Who else? Keyshawn Vaughn for San Francisco. But I think he can get it done. And I said today in a post, he's going to get a 100-yard rushing game against the Lions. Clearly, when he went out, a lot of people say, well, that was the Vikings' letdown, was when he went out of the game. That's how the Jets got back into it, because he couldn't do what Aaron Jones was doing. I don't buy that completely. I mean, he wasn't running the football. He had a bad game. He also had that long run called back. It certainly looked like when Aaron Jones went out that he was the cause for, or some of the cause for, the breakdown in the second half. But that's one of my concerns I'll get to later. I think he can get it done, Ted, and I think he's going to prove it with the Detroit game. We don't need to go out and get anybody. He's capable of doing it. He's done nothing but progress here. He has one bad game. I don't get the Viking fanship. Well, I do, actually. But I seen one guy said, how is Ty Chandler on this team? He should be cut. And I wrote, dude, go do something else, because you don't know anything about the Vikings football team.
There's a lot of goldfish memory with Vikings fans with Ty Chandler, it seems. Yeah. Last year, I can't remember how many games it was he started at the end of last year. I want to say 3 or 4. I think the Vikings waited way too long to pull the trigger on pulling Alexander Mattison and starting Chandler. But the Vikings running game improved dramatically when Chandler started. It became pretty clear when he was in, spelling Mattison early on in the season, like maybe weeks 4, 5, 6, whatever it was, that he was clearly the better running back. And the reason was given why he wasn't starting was he was not as good at pass protection as Alexander Mattison was. And it became clear to me that was a push by about week 5 or 6. So I really didn't see why Mattison was still starting. But be that as it may, I agree with you. I think Ty Chandler can carry the load as a running back. If they have to manage Aaron Jones even more and give Chandler maybe an equal amount of carries, if not a little bit more than Aaron Jones, I'm fine with that. I don't think you need to go get a running back. I don't think you need to make a trade.
No.
I don't think the Vikings have the draft capital to make a trade. I think it would be dumb to do so. But I'm not concerned about the Vikings running game going forward.
At the very most, what they could probably do is see if there's anyone on another team's practice squad they might be interested in and try to sign them away. But, the thing that worries me is we know that Ty Chandler is a solid backup to Aaron Jones. The drop off from Jones to Chandler is not, it's significant, but it's not like huge or anything.
Right.
If Jones has to miss a game or two, the drop off from Ty Chandler to Myles Gaskin is pretty significant. If you look at the way the game went against the Jets, and I don't know how much of this was a function of the Jets defense or whatever, in the first half of that game, the Vikings had 21 rushes for 75 yards. The second half of that game, they had 9 carries for 7 yards, which is not great after Aaron Jones went out. So it's not that Ty Chandler can't handle the load at running back. It's basically what happens if Ty Chandler needs to go to the bench for a little bit and or Ty Chandler gets hurt. What do we do then? Because CJ Ham ain't going to be your featured running back or anything like that. So they need to do possibly something to kind of shore up that area if Jones needs to miss a game or two.
2 words for you on that case. Jerick McKinnon. Unrestricted free agent right now.
He's still out there.
I don't know. He's the only viable option, I think, in free agency right now that's out there. Drew, you said you looked at all the practice squad players on the other, or some of the practice squad players. I haven't, so I don't know.
Best I seen was Tyler Beatty. The guy I liked coming out of Missouri. He's on the practice squad at Denver. He's a real explosive back. But McKinnon has experience. So he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He knows how to block from a running back standpoint. Is he long in the tooth? Yeah, but he's experienced. And I would have more faith in him than Gaskin.
Yeah, if Chandler and Jones are down, now you're looking at serious issues. I agree.
Right. Chandler, I don't understand all the hate. I don't get it from people. Give him a chance.
Okay. Yeah, I don't either. The other big news, injury-wise, TJ Hockenson returned to practice on Friday in England. 21-day practice window is open to either activate him or put him on season-ending IR. The latter part is not going to happen. He's going to be activated. The only question is it going to be for the Lions game, or are they going to wait the few extra days and activate him for the Rams game? I'm of the opinion it's going to be for the Lions game. Drew, what do you think? It's going to be the Lions game or the Rams game?
Lions game.
Chris, Lions or Rams game?
I think Hockenson wants to get back out there against the Lions, even though it might be a little rough with the 2 games in 5 days. I think they get him out there against Detroit.
I do too. Okay, with that said, so we're all in agreement that he's going to be active for the Lions game next, or a week from Sunday, correct?
Yep.
Okay. What do you see him being able to produce after being out of action for the first 5 games plus the bye? Plus he missed, the last 2 games last year? Going through rehab, missed training camp, the mini camps, OTAs, all that stuff. What are your expectations for him in that first game back?
Well, I don't think the amount of work will be as steep as it was, but it's not from an injury standpoint or easing him back in. This isn't the same offense we had with Hockenson when he first got here. When he was catching 10 passes a game, it doesn't seem like, even if he's at full 100% health, I think the production may drop just because it seems like a different offense to me. Cousins really relied on him. Doesn't it seem like he's not going to be a bigger part of even though he is a good tight end? The way this Vikings offense rolls, Chris, I don't see him getting a lot of targets compared to what he used to get because they seem to be running a little bit different offense, but that's just me.
No, and I can understand where you're coming from there, but then again, on the other hand, the reason the Vikings offense is rolling differently than it has been is because TJ Hockenson hasn't been out there. Josh Oliver can't do what TJ Hockenson does. Johnny Munt can't do what TJ Hockenson does. The Vikings traded for him in the middle of the week at the trading deadline a couple years ago. And we were like, yeah, they're going to ease him into the offense or whatever. And then he went out against Washington that first week and caught 9 passes or whatever the heck it was. So if he's healthy enough, I'm sure they're going to manage his workload a little bit. I don't think he's going to play 95% of the snaps or anything like that. I'm sure he'll be down there in red zone situations, obviously, because that's where he's one of the best. Yeah, I think he's going to bring a dimension to this offense that they haven't had. Because, if you look at that Jets game last week, we saw Sam Darnold just continuing to force passes to Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, even though when the Jets cornerbacks weren't grabbing onto dudes and tackling them in the middle of their routes, they were actually playing pretty decent coverage against those receivers. And if Sam Darnold has a tight end that he can trust the way he should be able to trust TJ Hockenson, that's going to change a lot of things.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to probably target Hockenson 8 or 9 times. I expect him to have 5 or 6 catches. I don't think he's going to have any eye-popping stats. I do think the first time he catches a pass, it's going to be like a 3 tight end set, and Johnny Munt and Josh Oliver are going to sandwich Kirby Joseph, and they're going to knock him out. And you ever see the movie Rollerball, where Jonathan's good buddy got knocked out, and the other team had him kind of unconscious, and they hit him in the back of the head, and they turn him into a vegetable? So that's what they're going to do. And they're going to, instead of hit him in the back of the head, they're going to hold Kirby Joseph's knee up, and Hawkinson's going to bite his kneecap off. Just
Eventually, yeah.
Put that on the list. Rollerball with James Caan.
I do think Hockenson wants to get out there as a matter of revenge, because that's the game he got hurt in, and I think he wants to be a big part of this offense, and I think Kevin O'Connell is going to let him. And I think he's going to have a pretty decent game. But
I agree with everything you guys are saying, but I'm only talking about all those plays Munt was running free. Sam Darnold wasn't even throwing it to him.
You're right.
No.
That's what I'm talking about. Is that going to change now that, it's Hockenson, I'm going to hit? Because that's what he should have been throwing, the 15-yard passes down the field rather than chucking everything deep.
That could be part of it, yeah.
Munt was running free all day, and he didn't throw it to him. Does that change with Hockenson, Chris? That's what I'm worried about.
I hope it will. Yeah, we'll have to see how Sam Darnold plays it, I guess.
I think it will. Yeah, I mean, if you got a reliable target like TJ Hockenson, that wide open in the middle of the field, you'd be kind of foolish not to throw him the ball.
Totally agree.
Anybody heard anything on Aaron Jones?
No, other than week to week. I've just heard week to week.
Yeah, other than Kevin O'Connell just saying it's a week-to-week injury. Okay. They don't know whether he's going to miss any games, but yeah, it's going to just a week-to-week thing according to O'Connell.
And we'll hit it again next week when we do our preview show.
That's what she said.
So we're not doing the big board preview this week. We're doing a little segment we like to call Surprise or Concern. Nobody really saw the Vikings starting out 5-0. Not even the 3 great prognosticators sitting in front of you. We all saw them going at 4-1. Did we not, Drew Bunning?
You guys had him at 3-2. I had him at 4-1.
Oh, really? I thought you said 4-1. I had him at 4-1.
No, I caught that on the Sally Spice show. You said 4-1, so you might want
to. What did I have them as their final season record?
We
all had them at 12-5, I think.
12-5. Chris had 12-5. I had 12-5.
All had them at 12-5.
Yes, we did. Yeah. Yes, we did. But at the bye break, you guys were 3-2, and I was 4-1. I had him losing to the Niners, and you had him losing. Chris had him losing to the Niners and the Jets, and you had him losing 2 in a row. Packers, and then 1 to the Jets.
Well,
wait.
Look at me.
Matter of fact, you had him losing 3 in a row. You have him losing the game coming out of the bye.
Did I really?
Bailiff, whack his PP, as they would say.
But at 5-0, there are a fair amount of surprises for the Vikings starting out. And even us, we didn't see this coming. Drew, what's your biggest surprise with the Vikings 5-0 start? And with the 12 games remaining, what is your one big concern?
When you talked about doing this segment, the idea for it, I thought it was great. And then I started looking up things. There's like 10 to 12 areas that I am surprised by.
You only get one. This is a 1-hour show. You only get one.
I had to settle on my biggest surprise has to be Sam Darnold.
Okay.
63% completion, only averaging 27 passes a game, which shows that we have some balance on offense. He's not have to throw it 54 times like Aaron Rodgers. 11 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. And he's picked up, let's not forget, some critical yardage and first downs with his legs. We remember I think it was a Niner game before the half where he got us into field goal range. Was that the Niner game?
Yeah.
He got us into field goal range with leadership. He's showing his toughness, Ted. He's a tough dude. He has playing with a lot of confidence. I didn't think that I would see this out of 5 weeks with Sam Darnold. He's made me a believer. It's not a hoax. And this is the Sam Darnold that I did a draft write-up at USC on. This is the guy. This is the closest I've seen to him. He was number 1 on the Drew Big Board, and he's showing us why now. You get a solid franchise around him rather than the puke Panthers and whoever else team he was on. He's my number 1 surprise, even though I knew he was good, and he's not getting cocky. He's keeping himself grounded. Sam Darnold is the real deal.
All right. Chris, what's your biggest surprise?
Yeah, I think it's got to be just how quickly this defense has come together with all the new additions, all the free agency signings, all the concerns we had with this defense going into the start of the season. I mean, we talked about the front seven, particularly the defensive line, being a significant issue, and they haven't been. I mean, Harrison Phillips has been great. Drew said it a few times. Jerry Tillery finally looks like a first-round draft pick. We're still waiting for the Levi Drake Rodriguez experience, unfortunately, but hopefully he'll get on the field eventually here. But, with the rest of this team, we knew that they had brought in a lot of talent in free agency after they let Daniil Hunter walk and whatnot. But I don't think anybody could have seen this group of players coming together this fast the way they have. Andrew Van Ginkel, if he's not on the short list for Defensive Player of the Year already, I mean, he should be if he's not. What a great signing that guy was. Jonathan Grenard has been outstanding. Blake Cashman has been outstanding. The two corners they signed kind of late in the offseason with Shaq Griffin and Stephon Gilmore, they've been playing lockdown ball at cornerback. And, it's a testament to just how good a coach Brian Flores is, I think. I mean, as people pointed out, that dude was coaching linebackers in Pittsburgh in 2022, and literally any team could have gone out and brought him in as their defensive coordinator. And Kevin O'Connell said, yeah, that's my guy. And, after the defense was just putrid in 2022 in O'Connell's first year, these last couple of years, Flores has turned it around, and now with his guys, he's made it. I don't think there's even an argument. I think they're the best defense in football right now. So I think we expected the defense to continue to improve, but I don't think anybody saw it coming together quite this quickly. So that would be my big one.
Drew, you went offense. Chris, you went defense. I'm going to go with Will the Thrill Reichard, the special teams rookie kicker out of Roll Damn Tide, Alabama.
Roll Damn Tide.
Who lost historically to Vanderbilt. Did you see that game? Did you see the ending of that game?
Vanderbilt get Jay Cutler back? How'd they put up all those points?
We know the history with the Minnesota Vikings and kickers.
And it's not good.
And it's not good. Even when the Vikings are having good years, the kicker isn't. I mean, even in 2017, when they went to the NFC Championship, Kai Forbath was iffy on extra points. Greg Joseph was iffy on extra points. Gary Anderson infamously missed that field goal in the NFC Championship game. Blair Walsh was historically good until he missed a chip shot to win a playoff game. Will Reichard, ladies and gentlemen, I just looked it up. He is 9 for 9 on his field goal attempts this year, 3 for 3 on 50 yards or more. He has made all his extra points, 16 of 16, and they're not grazing the inside of the crossbar. They are like smack right down the middle. The only ones that were like close were a couple of his field goals against the Jets that Rich Eisen wanted to be no good so bad when he was calling them. Oh, it's going to be, it's good. Oh, it looked like it was going to be no good.
Looked like it was leaking right.
Kind of goes back, you talked about the coaching of Brian Flores, and it just kind of goes to the overall coaching of Kevin O'Connell, just having confidence in him. If you ever watch the KOC post-game locker room speeches, he's like, I just have absolute confidence in this guy. Anywhere on the field, I say, Will, get out there and make a kick, and he does, which is cool because it's such a departure from, I hate to bring up old coaches and cultures and all that, but, Mike Zimmer hated kickers. He hated quarterbacks. I love the confidence that Will Reichard has and the confidence that Kevin O'Connell has put in his kicker, and it's paid off, man. 16 for 16 on extra points, 9 for 9 on field goals. And if the Vikings had not gone out and gotten this guy, they wouldn't be 5-0.
No.
I agree with that, but I think we should spend a second talking about that Jets game and what he did in that Jets game. We don't win this game without those kicks. We had nothing going on in the second half. It was drizzling outside. Reichard won that game with those 2 long kicks. He put up the only points in the second half. He was the dude. And people want to say, well, he's just a kicker. I don't think we win this game without his kicking ability.
No, you don't. Absolutely. I mean, and you got to give credit to, Ryan Wright getting the holds down in the wet and whatever. And Andrew DePaola has gotten recognized as being one of the best at the league in his position. There have been some other issues on special teams that we can go over later if we want to. But Will Reichard has not been one of them. Certainly not.
Wasn't the 2 second-half field goals both over 50?
Let me go back and double check it. I'm pretty sure that they were.
And we talked about way back in April when we drafted him, one of the things you talked about, I remember this, was people shouldn't worry. That guy's been in pressure games. Christ's sake, he kicked for Alabama, man. He has the most pressure job kicking in college football.
So yeah, his field goals, he had a 54-yarder in the first quarter. And then he had a 53-yarder in the fourth quarter, and then his last one was a 41-yarder. So he had 2 over 50, and the last one was over 40.
Guy's been money. So those are our surprises. Now, concerns, since I went last, I'll go first for the concerns. And it's not really a concern, not I think for 12 games, but the last couple games for Sam Darnold, at least the second half of the Packers game and most of the Jets game, Sam Darnold's kind of come back to earth a little bit. I'd like to see him be a little bit more consistent. And I don't know if it was the play calling or the game situation or what, but it just seemed like he, especially in the Jets game, just decided to go with the pass interference play, which I didn't get. Drew, you talked about it. Johnny Munt looked wide open on crossing routes over the middle a lot on Sunday. And I don't know if it was just the design play call based on the defensive look or what have you, but I'd like to just call that an anomaly. And with the week off to kind of get right and look at film and get some more study in the classroom, that'll be taken care of. But if that kind of now becomes a trend, that might be my long-term concern for Sam Darnold, because he's had that sort of trend in the past where he'll have 1 or 2 good games. Now, Sam put 4 good games together, and then he'll just kind of get in this rut. And we saw that early. He would have like 2 or 3 boneheaded plays, and he got rid of those. And now he's had kind of this second half against Green Bay and a good chunk of the Jets game where he didn't play to his potential. So that could potentially be my long-term concern. Drew?
Mine kind of falls in line with that, Ted. And I think Darnold, he needs to get back to just taking what the defense is giving him and move the ball down the field rather than to try to hit JJ. KOC talked about that a lot in his press conference, saying it seemed like we were throwing everything deep. But mine is this. The Vikings have 1 touchdown their last 6 quarters. And that was the ham run against the Jets. That's not good enough. 1 touchdown in 6 quarters is not good enough. The last 2 weeks, they've had 9 second-half points. 3 field goals is what they've mustered in the second half against the Packers and the second half against the Jets. Not good enough. And that kind of falls in line with what you were saying, demise of the second half, so to speak. One of the problems with the Vikings was getting a fast start last year, the last couple years. They've taken care of that because last year, after 5 games, they had 1 field goal in week 5. That's it in the first quarter. They had 3 points in the first quarter, in 5 games. 3 points, 5 games in the first quarter. This year, they're up to, Ted, 48 points in the first quarter. So I think they've remedied that, getting that fast start. We always talked about they were sleepwalking at the beginning of the game. This year, they've turned that around. They scored a 14, I think, in a couple different games, maybe Houston and Green Bay. But 1 offensive touchdown. Van Ginkel got the pick 6, but I'm talking offense. The last 6 quarters, they've got 1 touchdown. That concerns me. They got to break that pattern, because if you get into a pattern like that, the habit can jump in on you quicker than the pattern. You don't even know what's happening, but you find yourself doing that every week, you're not going to win a lot more games, especially coming out of that bye. We scored 20 points on Houston in the second half, which was right about where you want to be. And then they just went in the tank and get 3 against Green Bay and 6 against the Jets. I'm concerned about the second half scoring by the offense.
Chris?
I touched briefly on it earlier, but there are some special teams concerns that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. I mean, we saw Jalen Naylor screw up that punt in Green Bay that kind of opened the door for Green Bay to start coming back. We almost had the same thing happen against the Jets. Had a lot of dumb special teams penalties that put the Vikings even deeper into the Jet territory. I mean, the Vikings had drives against the Jets in the second half. They didn't have starting position better than their own 30, except for the 1 punt where they stopped the Packers deep in their own end. If the offense and the defense are going to continue operating at a high level, the rest of the special teams needs to catch up to that. And you can't have the dumb penalties. You can't be dropping punts. You can't have your guys blocking the gunners damn near get thrown into the returner on every return. So we talked about how good Will Reichard and the field goal unit has been on special teams. The rest of the special teams have been kind of iffy for the rest of the year. I mean, Ryan Wright hasn't been great. He's been good at holding, obviously. We touched on that earlier. But, outside of the field goal unit, the special teams have been an issue. And, if you're going to play kind of on the margins or whatever, you can't have stuff like that happen all the time. So, Matt Daniels has shown that he's a decent special teams coach. I expect him to get some of this stuff shored up, but that's one of my big concerns, especially like if Drew said you're going to struggle to score points, then you need to make it more difficult for the other team to score points too, and pin them back and not give them short fields on special teams errors and things of that nature. So that would be one of my big concerns going into the rest of the year here.
Okay, so we pretty much hit all three phases of the Vikings units. We hit offense, defense, and special teams, both as hope and concern.
We didn't even plan that, and it happened.
No, we didn't. We didn't.
We don't plan anything on this show.
Which should be obvious to people who watch on a regular basis.
Doing it without a net, baby.
Selah, Salih.
Whoever a net is.
Ali, Salah, Selah B.
Yeah, clean out your desk. I don't know what's French for clean out your desk. But do you see that guy? They said they had to have that guy escorted out of the building. What the hell's wrong with that entire organization over there? Jesus.
Did you see, like, he came into work on Monday, I guess it was, not expecting to be fired. He came into work and he was going to demote Nathaniel Hackett from play calling duties. But before he could, he got schwacked. So, like, it was like an old school mafia hit. He was going to take out Paul Castellano, but before he could take out Castellano, he got schwacked by Corleone himself, man. It was wild.
It was that scene from Goodfellas where they're taking Pesci to the house where he's going to get, like, the mayor, and the piano solo from Layla starts up in the background, and, he walks into the house and all of a sudden he just gets... Couldn't even give him an open casket at the funeral.
That was Castellano at the Sparks Steakhouse, Ted, all over again.
And then Aaron Rodgers is at the baptism of his niece or whatever. I do renounce sin. I do renounce the devil.
and then Rodgers went out and said, like, yeah, I didn't have anything to do with it. Nobody believes that, dude.
He's running that whole organization, man.
He basically is.
Jets are always going to be starting over like the Browns.
They're always a year away from being a year away.
Thankful to be a Viking fan. Can I throw a tidbit out there real quick?
Sure, you bet.
Tasty tidbit. The Vikings have only given up one touchdown on rush defense. Kind of goes what Chris was saying for what he's happy about. One rush touchdown on defense. The defense has only allowed 15 first downs via the rush. Other teams rushing the ball have only gotten it 15 times. At this time last year, after 5 weeks, they had allowed 37 rushing first downs. What a number crunch that is. From 37 to 15.
Who scored the rushing touchdown? Was it San Francisco?
Yeah, I think it was Jordan Mason from.
Yeah,
Mason
okay,
on a 10-yard run. Last year, the Vikings allowed 104 first down rushes by other teams. 104.
God.
And this year, they're on pace to give up 50. So
unbelievable.
Yeah, 37 after 5 weeks. We cut that down to 15. The rush defense of the Vikings is doing so well right now. It's a big part of why they're winning.
This time last year, the Vikings' turnover margin was -8. Now they're plus, I think after this game, they're plus 3 or 4. I can't remember what it was against the Jets. I know they had 3 takeaways. I don't think they had any giveaways. So they might be plus 5 now. I don't know what it is. But
yeah, Toots has even said before the telecast, Toots has told me that the Vikings are still having turnovers, except it's not costing them games.
You can turn the ball over as long as you win the turnover battle. As long as you get the ball back, I can live with it, I guess. I don't like it, but I'd rather win the turnover battle 3-0 than, 3-2. Just me, though.
Here's a fun one. At least I think it's kind of fun. Andrew Van Ginkel has caught 2 passes for touchdowns this year so far. That gives him more receiving touchdowns than all of the following people. DeAndre Hopkins, who has 1, Adam Thielen, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill only has 1, Calvin Ridley only has 1, Michael Pittman Jr. only has 1, Devonta Smith only has 1. So, Andrew Van Ginkel for not only defensive player of the year, maybe we can put him up for offensive player of the year at this point.
Put him at tight end for 4 weeks, for God's sakes.
He's the only player in NFL history with at least 3 sacks and multiple interception return touchdowns in his team's first 5 games of a season.
In NFL
history.
How is that for a free agent signing, Ted Glover?
I'm telling you, if he's not on the short list for defensive player of the year right now, the list is wrong.
You could make argument for Jonathan Grenard being up there too, because he leads the league in pressures and he's got 4 or 5 sacks as well.
Something like that, yeah.
Everybody on that defense is just swarming people.
Kwesi has put together this year, and I don't think there's even a close second. This is the best free agent class since free agency started for this team. I mean, they may have had better individual signings. I mean, there's the Antoine Winfield signing, obviously, that's at the top of the list. But as a group of guys that they signed as free agents during the offseason, all these guys that are contributing. I mean, we talked about Cashman and Van Ginkel and Grenard and Gilmore and Griffin. And, we've even talked about the depth guys like Ward and Grugier Hill, who were kind of cast off by their teams. But the Vikings said, you can do something for us, so we're going to bring you in. So all these guys that the Vikings have signed have been contributing. I can't think of anyone they signed in free agency this offseason that isn't contributing right now.
Best free agent Viking offseason in team history. It's not even close. I agree with you.
I'd agree.
What about when Fred Sanford was waiting to go on a date with movie star, I forgot her name, Lena Horne? He has his tux on and knock on the door, and he opens it up, and it's Aunt Esther. And he says, "Oh my God, I was expecting Lena, and they sent me somebody's hyena."
Sanford and Son and Hogan's Heroes were my dad's 2 favorite shows.
There's one of those channels on Pluto TV my wife and I usually watch before we go to bed. It's just they run like a block of Hogan's Heroes every night, and it is outstanding. That show was so great.
Sanford and Son would not be allowed today.
Absolutely not.
All right, so look, folks, enjoy your stress-free 5-0 bye week. No matter what happens this weekend, the Vikings are still going to be the only remaining undefeated team in the NFC. They are still going to be leading the NFC North. And when we come back next week, we're going to preview probably the biggest Vikings-Lions game in at least the last 20 years. Yeah, it's going to be a good game, man. And I'm already doing my research for it. I'm kind of liking what I see, to be quite honest. But that's just me. More to come. All right. For Chris, for Drew, for Ruby, I'm Ted. We will see you next Friday and next Saturday for Vikings Report. Van Ginkel!